For this one, I'm limiting myself to use a single gear setup across all Guardian subclasses, both for endgame raids and for soloing legendary enemies. This series will also serve as a general beginner-friendly guide to the Guardian, including leveling tips, a sneak peek at endgame content, and easy-to-play builds for each Guardian Elite specialization. Elite specs are the subclasses in Guild Wars 2. Each Guardian specialization adds a different flavor to your cleric experience. Historically, religious authorities like priests were forbidden to shed blood, which is why in most role-playing games, clerics do not use sharp weapons like swords and daggers, but limit themselves to blunt weapons like maces. To go all in on this archetype, I will only use a hammer and a mace and a shield for all elite specializations. The cleric is actually one of the original classes in Dungeons & Dragons. If you take a closer look at the Guardian in Guild Wars 2, you'll immediately spot many similarities. In Dungeons & Dragons, clerics have access to spiritual weapons, sanctuary and sacred flames. The Guardian can use skills like spirit weapons, sanctuary and purging flames. And there are many more examples like this. So it's quite obvious that the cleric theme was an important, if not the most important inspiration for the Guardian. What's great about Guild Wars 2 though is that unlike in other games, you don't have to start an entirely new playthrough to experience a different cleric domain. The game lets you freely switch between equipment and traits. This means that with the same character, you can be both a dedicated healer in group content and a powerful solo adventurer. Traits are a critical aspect of build crafting in Guild Wars 2, and which ones you pick significantly impact how you play the game. As a new player, you unlock new traits and skills by leveling up your character from level 1 to level 80. Don't worry though, unlike in other MMORPGs like World of Warcraft, leveling up in Guild Wars 2 is easy and somewhat quick. You get experience points for literally anything you do in the game, including crafting, world exploration, fighting mobs and story quests. Playing a Guardian is a particularly good option if you want to enjoy the game together with friends. In this case, you can fully lean into the cleric playstyle early on by becoming the frontline tank and healer of the party. Luckily, we start the game already with a mace. It's a fantastic cleric weapon because we can heal others with our auto attacks, create symbols of regeneration with it, and block not just one but 2 enemy attacks. To become even better at supporting others, we can level up shout skills at first, because they give incredible bonuses to our friends like granting the boon stability. The Guardian is also one of the very few classes with a healing skill that does not just heal yourself, but also your allies. It is called Receive the Light and is a shout skill that perfectly fits the cleric archetype. If you are wondering which trait lines to level up first, you could check out Honor and Zeal. If you want to fully focus on supporting others from the get-go, Honor is a great choice for boosting your healing. But if you also play a lot by yourself, I'd recommend picking up Zeal first, because of the damage boost it gives you early on. Around level 45, you can have access to both of these trait lines, which makes you an absolute beast in the mid-game. What I like about leveling up like a cleric is that it nudges you to get familiar with an aspect of Guild Wars 2 that a lot of newer players are underestimating, which is the whole boon system of the game. You see, in Dungeons & Dragons, the cleric's main attribute is wisdom. In Guild Wars 2, the equivalent to that is called concentration. Concentration boosts your boon duration, and as a cleric, we are often playing the role of a group support. How this works in Guild Wars 2 is via providing these buffs to the party. One of them is called Quickness, which improves our attack speed by 50%. And then there's another boon called Might, which gives us a tremendous amount of extra power and condition damage. So you see, these boons are disproportionately powerful in Guild Wars 2, and to upkeep them is our main job as the supporter in a group. But because we are the person to provide all these buffs, we'll always have them even when we are on our own. And this is why this cleric playstyle also works out really well in the open world, not just in group content. Personally, I leveled up this Cleric Guardian mostly with a hammer as my primary weapon. And that's a really underrated option. Most people would just play with a greatsword all the time. At least I did that for my first Guardian. I would argue that the hammer is better, not because it deals a lot of sustained damage, but because it gives you protection. Because of protection, you receive 33% less damage. And to have protection up all the time makes you incredibly tough when leveling up your character. As you can see, we easily fight enemies that are 10 levels above you. When you come across a champion, chances are high that you can just go ahead and solo it. At the very least, you'd be a great asset in a teamfight. And when going into your first dungeons, you are pulling your weight by both healing your team and dealing a lot of damage yourself. Something else I want to mention here is crafting. crafting is not only great for gaining a ton of experience. When starting out with GW2, people often overlook how useful crafting can be for supporting your friends. Naturally, as a Guardian, you might think about jobs like weapon or armor smithing, and these are fantastic options for sure. But I'd recommend you to also look into cooking. To cook food means to produce something that's providing a significant bonus over a certain amount of time. Once you've fully leveled up cooking, you can craft ascended food. Just to give an example, there is a fruit salad you can cook that reduces incoming damage by 10% and gives you an additional 100 healing power and 70 concentration. That's more powerful than almost any piece of equipment you could get in the entire game. Talking about equipment, let's check out the gear. Once you've hit level 80, the idea with this cleric build is to get a single set of equipment that can be used with all elite specializations. And that's good enough both for group and solo content. This way, we don't have to invest in a new set of gear whenever we want to try out something new. And so, the equipment we use is a full set of celestial armor, weapons and trinkets. In terms of attribute combinations, Celestial is the jack of all trades in GW2. It boosts all of our attributes equally, which means we can both heal and support others, while being tanky and able to deal damage. We use the superior runes of water on our armor and the superior sigils of transference and concentration, both on our hammer and the mace and shield. They give us extra healing and boon duration. As you can see, I'm using a mix of exotic and ascended equipment here, which seems realistic for most players to get. The exotic armor is called Bladed Armor and is from the very first map of the Heart of Thorns expansion. The ascended trinkets can be bought from lower vendors, and the weapons are either from the trading post or dropped from some of the raid bosses I did with this character. Getting some ascended pieces of equipment is good, because they can be upgraded with agony resistance. This is needed if you want to do some fractals, which are the endgame dungeons in GW2. The only thing that changes between builds is the relic and the food we consume. The first build I want to show you is an open world build for the core Guardian, which is great for playing through the expansions and unlocking elite specializations. It's awesome for solo play, you can easily finish even legendary enemies with it. Our relic for the core Guardian is the relic of the Pirate Queen. That's from the newest expansion, Visions of Eternity. It's really easy to unlock though, and there will be no relevant spoilers of the story. So I definitely recommend you to take a quick peek at the new expansion and grab this great relic. It's arguably the best open world relic for the Guardian, and useful for all elite specs. It's so good because as a Guardian, we usually cannot generate a lot of quickness on our own, and the relic deals with that. As a result, we'll deal 50% more damage, which means the relic is more powerful than any other piece of equipment. The best food options for our core Guardian are celestial ones, like birthday cakes for the most overall stats. Soul pastries are also great as a budget option. The best utility items are bountiful sharpening stones for maximum power, or holographic super cheese as a cheap alternative. The core Guardian is really good for open world play, like soloing champions, unlocking hero points and things like that. The best trait lines for that are Zeal, Radiance and Honor. Honor gives you a bunch of self-sustain, Radiance lets you crit all the time, and Zeal is just awesome overall. And to be fair, because our gear is heavily biased towards healing and boon generation, it can sometimes take us a little bit longer to kill our enemies. But what I've noticed is that the game becomes incredibly easy and forgiving. We just outheal almost everything. Take this champion Hydra for example. Normally you have to really watch out for your health because you have multiple Hydras attacking you from all sides, and meteors raining down from above. But thanks to all of our healing, that's no problem at all. The skills we definitely want to use here are Litany of Wrath for healing and Save Yourselves for generating a bunch of wounds. And then we have a lot of flexibility for the rest. I often take Stand Your Ground, Bane Signet and Feel My Wrath, but I also really like Sanctuary. This build is really similar to my free-to-play Guardian build, so if you want to have more explanations or you don't have access to the latest expansion, feel free to check that one out. Let's talk about our first elite specialization. Our Dragonhunter Cleric build is a tank. Now, you might wonder why on earth you would want a Dragonhunter tank in GW2. This specialization cannot actually generate quickness or alacrity, two of the most important boons in the game. So the Dragonhunter is quite useless as a heal tank. But there's one tank job the Dragonhunter can do, which is related to one of the more iconic raid bosses in GW2, Deimos. Our relic here is the Relic of the Defender. It gives us 5% of our health back when we block an attack. This synergizes really well with our Dragonhunter trait Hunter's Fortification and with the Honor trait Pure of Heart, which also both heal us when blocking attacks. The ideal food here would be the bowl of spiced fruit salad I mentioned earlier, for decreased incoming damage and increased healing and concentration. But you can easily take the budget alternative, which are the oysters with pesto sauce. That's what I used here. The best utility is the holographic super drumstick to get even more healing and concentration. Defeating Deimos requires a specific role called Handkite, which is all about tanking hits and out-healing them on your own. So while the other 9 players are defeating the boss, you stand on the opposite side of the arena and take hits from these undead hands that are coming from below. But as a cleric, thematically, you are pretty good at fighting the undead, so this task is very doable. The traits we use are Valor, Honor and Dragonhunter. The traits are all about boosting our mace and shield while giving us more healing overall. How this boss mechanic works in practice is that there will be 5 hands coming from below. We will get increasingly more damage with each successive hand. So we don't care about the first and second one, but we want to usually block the third and fourth ones, and then dodge the last. Also, if you are seeing this red circle here, dodge out of it. That's the most famous mechanic of Deimos, and standing in it usually means everyone dies. And then every once in a while, Deimos unleashes a powerful attack called Mind Crush. We need to block this attack every time, otherwise we instantly die. For that purpose alone, 2 seconds after you hear "Quickly!" use your healing skill Shelter to block all incoming attacks. And that's all you need to do. I was actually shocked how easy this is when doing it for the first time. Okay, I did roll off the cliff on my very first attempt. But apart from that, handkiting was incredibly easy. I only looked at 2 guides online and watched a single video. And not once did I die from either the hands or the Mind Crush. In fact, you quickly learn that it's usually rather your teammates that are the problem. I put the other YouTube video I watched in the description. Shout out to Yokush for publishing it. Definitely check that one out as well. The utility skills I used are Signet of Judgment for reduced incoming damage, and then Merciful Intervention and Smite Condition to get a bunch of healing. The elite skill is Signet of Courage for extra passive sustain. The one thing to keep in mind is that we should have less toughness than whoever is the main heal tank of the group. So before you start the fight, it's good to check in with the group on that. And yeah, playing Handkite is maybe the easiest way to get into raiding in general, because you only have to learn one boss really, and you often see groups looking for one. Apart from handkiting, I also thought about presenting an open world Dragonhunter build here. But I'm working on a separate video for that, so subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss that one. And let's continue right away with the Firebrand. Our Firebrand Cleric build is a healer. If you picture the archetypical cleric from Dungeons & Dragons, that's the Firebrand. Holy magic to heal your allies combined with heavy armor and blunt weapons. Our relic is the Relic of Altruism for extra fury and might. You do have a lot of options here. The relics of the Monk, Caracosa and Flock heal more. But what's great about the Relic of Altruism is that you don't have to think about Fury and Might at all anymore, which are 2 of the most important offensive boons in Guild Wars 2. The food we use is Mint Creme Brulee for extra healing and concentration, and Bountiful Maintenance Oil for even more healing. The best budget alternatives would be Delicious Rice Balls and Holographic Super Drumstick. In many fights, unless there is an emergency, you can just stay on your hammer and keep auto-attacking. And then the mace and shield are great because of all the blocks they give you. In many raids, being able to just block attacks makes the whole fight a lot easier. The skills I like the most are for healing, Mantra of Solace for extra resolution and quickness. And then Mantra of Potence is critical, because that's how we apply quickness to the group. Your other 2 utility skills are more flexible. My personal favorites are Merciful Intervention and Signet of Mercy. Merciful Intervention teleports you to an ally and heals them. The Signet gives you extra concentration. More importantly though, both skills revive your friends. Together with your Shield 5, this means you have 3 resurrection skills in your toolkit. Alternative utility skills worth mentioning include Sanctuary for Defiance bar damage, Bow of Truth for extra healing and Stand Your Ground for additional stability. Your elite is Fear My Wrath to upkeep fury and quickness in a large area around you. The Firebrand's magical tomes are what's best about this elite specialization. As a healer, you mostly live in the Tome of Resolve, which gives you access to 5 entirely new heal skills. All are fantastic, so I recommend you to read through them. Typically, we would at least cast the 3rd skill of cooldown to apply vigor, swiftness and regeneration to our team. Apart from that, the 5th skill is also incredibly strong because of the 33% healing modifier. You don't really need the 1st tome as a healer, but the 3rd one, the Tome of Courage, gives you some incredible situational skills. The 5th skill gives stability and aegis to your group. Most importantly though, the 3rd skill is a projectile reflect, which comes in very handy in a lot of situations. In practice, this Firebrand Healer build is great for its simplicity, sustained healing and great boon application. Your main bottleneck is that you don't have so many big on-demand heals. However, the Firebrand has fantastic versatility, and the Guardian class in general has some of the best utility skills, so you're definitely pulling your weight in the majority of encounters. The traits I used are Honor, Virtues and Firebrand to get the most overall healing. That wraps up part 1 of our Guardian Cleric series. With just one general set of equipment, we got a core Guardian build for the open world, a Handkite build for the Dragonhunter, and a capable group support with the Firebrand. Next will be Willbender and Luminary, which work absolutely fantastic with this setup as well. Subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up and let me know what you think in the comments.